Hello and welcome to Storytime. Today's storybook is going to be the Ada Twist Scientist. The story is by Andrea Beaty and it's illustrated by David Roberts. And I like both the pictures and the words. I think this is a really fun book. Ada Twist Scientist. Ada Marie said not a word until the day she turned 3. She bounced in her crib and she looked all around, observing the world but not making a sound. She learned how to climb and she made her big break, with a trail of chaos left in her wake. She ran through the day chasing each sight and sound and sight, and she didn't slow down till she conked out at night. Look at that messy room. It's kind of like my room. Her parents were frazzled, but tried not to freak as Ada grew bigger and still did not speak. Clearly young Ada, with lots in her head, would have something to say when it ought to be said. That's just what happened when Ada turned 3. She tore through the house on a fact-finding spree. She climbed up the clock just as high as she could. Her parents yelled, "Stop!" just as all parents, good parents, would. Ada's queen quivered, but she did not cry. She took a deep breath and she simply asked, "Why?" Why does it tick and why does it talk? Why don't we call it a granddaughter clock? Why are there pointy things stuck to a rose? Why are there hairs all inside your nose? She started with why and then what and how and when. By bedtime, she came back to why again. She drifted to sleep as her dazed parents smiled at the curious thoughts of their curious child who wanted to know what the world was all about. They kissed her and whispered, "You'll figure it out." I think that's such a nice thing to say. Her parents kept up with her high-flying kid, whose questions and chaos both grew as she did. And there's all kinds of question words all around the page, like what and how and why does it? Oops, sorry about that. Even Miss Greer found her hands were quite full when young Ada's chaos wreaked havoc at school. But this much was clear about Miss Ada Twist. She had all the traits of a great scientist. Ada was busy that first day of spring, testing the sounds that make mockingbirds sing, when a horrible stench drifted right past her nose, a pungent aroma that curled up her toes. "Zowie," said Ada, which got her to thinking. What is the source of that terrible stinking? How does a nose know there's something to smell? And does it still stink if there's no nose to tell? She rattled off questions and tapped on her chin. She'd start at the start, where she ought to begin. A mystery, a riddle, a puzzle, a quest. That was the moment that Ada loved best. Ada did research to learn all she could of smelling and smells, both the stinky and good. One hypothesis Ada thought could be true: the terrible stink came from Dad's cabbage stew. She tested and tested, but soon Ada knew it was time to come up with hypothesis 2. Then zowie, that stink struck again, just like that. Hypothesis 2, it's caused by the cat. The cat couldn't make such a stink on its own. It needed perfume and some fancy cologne. So young Ada tested, and the test was a flop. She started again, but her parents yelled, "Stop!" What was she doing that she shouldn't do? That poor kitty is getting all the experimentation there. Ada Marie, to the thinking chair now. By the time we count 3. Enough, said her mother. That's it, said her dad. Her parents were frustrated, frazzled, and mad. Why? Ada questioned. Her mother said, no. What? Ada queried, and her father said, go. You've ruined our supper. You made the cat stink. Enough with your questions. Now sit there and think. She looked at her parents and her heart turned to goo. Poor Ada Twist didn't know what to do. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes parents don't understand what's going on, and sometimes our wondering makes things messy. She sat all alone by herself in the hall, and Ada once more could say nothing at all. And so Ada sat, and she sat, and she sat, and she thought about science and the stew and the cat, and how her experiments made such a big mess. Does it have to be so? Is that part of success? Are messes a problem? And all the while she was thinking, what was the source of that terrible stinking? Ada Marie did what scientists do. She asked a small question and then she asked 2. And each of those 3 led her to 3 questions more. And some of those questions resulted in 4. As Ada got thinking, she really dug in. She scribbled her questions and she tapped on her chin. She started with why and then what, how, and when. At the end of the hall, she reached why once again. Do you think her parents are going to like all of her doodles? Her parents calmed down and they came back to talk. They looked at the hallway and just had to gawk. No patch of bare paint could be seen on the wall. The thinking chair was now the great thinking hall. They watched their young daughter and sighed as they did. What would they do with this curious kid who wanted to know what the world was all about? They smiled and whispered, we'll figure it out. And that's what they do, because that's what you do when your kid has a passion and a heart that is true. They remade their world, and now they're all in the act of helping young Ada sort fiction from fact. She asked lots of questions. How could she resist? It's all in the heart of a young scientist. And as for that smell, well, what can Ada Twist do but learn all she can in her friends in grade 2? Will they discover the stink that curls toes? Well, that is the question. And someday, who knows? So we are going to do a little experiment, and I'm going to turn it over to Anna to see, because she's going to talk us through it. But if you have these materials in your house, you can do this experiment too.
Hi,
Anna?
Thanks, Theresa. Can you hear me okay? Great. Thank you so much. That was a great book, one of my favorites. I had to switch to my phone instead of my computer, so sorry about that. So we're going to try an experiment like scientists, and we're going to ask some questions. These are the materials that you'll need. We sent this in the email ahead of time, so some of you might have these with. If you don't, it's okay. You can watch along and try it later. But we're going to want a plate that's white or light in color and not made of paper, some black pepper in a shaker, some dish soap, some water to pour into the plate. And this one is optional. It's okay if you don't have it, but you could use a push pin or a toothpick or something like that. And if you want to stop sharing your screen, Theresa, I will switch and show this on my camera. So we're going to try this experiment now, and I'm going to switch to my other camera so you can see I have I have some dish soap and some water and some black pepper. It's better if it's the kind in a shaker instead of a grinder, but I just have the grinder. And a toothpick and a plate. So I'm gonna take some of my soap and put it into this little dish to make it easier. You don't need to do that. And I'm gonna take some water and pour it into the dish. And then I'm gonna sprinkle some pepper onto the surface of the dish. I'm trying to do this one-handed because I'm holding my camera with the other phone, or with my other.
You could take a break and twist it if you need to.
That's okay. I think we have enough on there. So you can see I covered the surface of the water with lots of little flecks of pepper. So what I'm gonna do, and if you're following along, don't do it yet, but I'm gonna take my toothpick and I'm gonna get a little bit of soap on it. And if you don't have a toothpick or a pin, you could just use your finger, but we're not gonna try it yet because we wanna think like scientists, like Ada is a scientist and we're going to be scientists too. And we're gonna make a prediction. That's what scientists do a lot of the times before they try something, is they predict what they think is going to happen. Now, prediction, maybe some of you know that word, maybe some of you are hearing it for the first time. It means we're going to make a guess about what's going to happen. So what I'm going to do in a moment is I'm going to take my toothpick, which has some soap on the end, and I'm going to put it in the middle of that water. Does anyone have a prediction about what's going to happen, or a guess? And if you want, you can unmute or you can put it in the chat and Theresa will read it.
Yeah, I'm gonna just check in with people and see if anybody is raising their hand.
Who's gonna do that?
You're gonna do, what do you think, Campbell? Go ahead, Cam.
What's this soap gonna do to it?
Well, that's what we're trying to wonder. That's a really good question, right? There's trying to figure out what the soap is going to do. I also see that Ophelia has her hand raised. Wait, can you unmute? I accidentally muted you. Sorry.
I predict that when we put the soap inside, it's gonna turn white.
Oh, good idea. That's a prediction. Does anyone, oh, I see Silas is raising his hand. Do you have a prediction you would like to make?
I'm pretty sure. So I'm pretty sure it's gonna make something like fly up or something.
Oh, might make it fly up. Thanks, Silas. Anyone else have a prediction? You can also just say it in your head or put it in your chat. You don't have to share it.
I see that Akrasha has a hand up.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Adgrasha.
When we put the soap in, I think the pepper will melt.
It'll melt. Oh, that's a good guess too.
We have so many interesting hypotheses and predictions.
Yeah, good guesses, good hypotheses. So now that we've had some guesses, and you can think in your head, what do you think is going to happen? Now we can try it to find out, just like Ada was trying to find out what would happen. Oh, and one more, Eleanor said, it will explode. So that popped up on my screen.
Yep.
Should we try it and find out?
Yeah, I think so.
Here we go. Here's the toothpick. Remember, it has some soap
Maybe
on
we
it.
could count to 3.
Okay, everyone want to help me? 1,
2,
3.
Whoa.
What happened?
Did you see that?
What happened? All the pepper was all around and now it's kind of all on the side.
It all went out to the edges. Yeah. Did anyone think that was going to happen? I was surprised. I mean, I've done it before, so I knew, but the first time I saw this, I was pretty surprised.
Me too.
And now the question, what question might we ask about that? So we saw what happened. We took a guess about what was going to happen. Now I have a bunch more questions. Anyone have any questions about it? I'm wondering, why did that happen? Anyone have any other questions about it?
I see Campbell raising her hand.
How?
How? Yeah,
How
that's
did it happen? Yeah.
How did it happen? How did it just go on the sides when the soap the soap was in? How does it do that?
Yeah.
That's a good question too. Yeah, how? How and why? Anybody else have any questions about what we saw?
Bodhi has a hand up.
So when you put the stick in, then where's this?
Pepper.
Pepper goes on the sides.
Yeah,
Why does
that's
it
a
do
good
that?
explanation.
Hi. I kind of wonder.
Very hard.
Hold on, we have a few people talking at once, so I'm just gonna check in with people if they could mute, and we'll have Bodhi talk, okay? And then we'll go back to Anna. And
What happened? Why does it do that? No, you're unmuted. You can talk.
So
When you put
when you put that in, the pepper will go on the sides.
why?
Because you put it really hard. Yeah, really hard. And it goes to the sides.
Really good observations, Bodhi. That's an important skill for scientists.
right, and you made a hypothesis too, that you think it was because she pushed it really heavy. Sorry, Anna, go ahead.
I have a question. I wonder if it would happen if we used something else besides pepper. What if we used glitter, or what else could we sprinkle on there? What else is little bits of stuff that we could
I
sprinkle
think she has cinnamon there.
Cinnamon. What if we tried cinnamon or some other stuff? How could we find that out? Well, we could try it, right? And maybe that's something you want to try at home. Anyone have any other questions that you asked when we did that?
Yeah, I see someone in the chat, Adalyn said salt. And Campbell and Silas and Ophelia have all some questions, some hands raised.
Okay.
I think I know what happened. So, it's like this soap, so it kind of like washed it out.
Yeah, it sort of washed it out. And, you know, soap is really great because of the way it interacts with water. And it's you know how water, if you look at a glass of water, let me see if I can show it here. Some of my clutter on my desk, but can you kind of tell how there's like the surface of the water, there's like a thin layer that you can see is kind of almost like a skin on top of the water. You see that? Very thin top of the water. And that's the water's surface where there's kind of some tension there. And the soap breaks that up, right? So the pepper was floating on that surface, and then the soap kind of makes that surface of the water kind of disappear, and so there was nowhere for that pepper to be floating anymore. That's kind of an explanation for it. Another thing I wonder is, what if we tried something other than soap? Like, what if we tried olive oil or I don't know, peanut butter? You know, so that's
those are good ideas too.
Yeah,
that makes me question a lot of things.
So there's so many questions.
Try a lot of there.
What's that?
Is that Campbell speaking? or?
It works with cinnamon too.
We just
It works with cinnamon too? You tried it? That's great.
Yeah, it really works. When you put soap, in the water, the cinnamon goes to the sides, like the pepper.
Wow.
Very
I'm so glad that
cool.
you tried that, Campbell. And so we asked a question, what will happen if we put the soap in the middle of the water with the pepper floating?
Now.
And we tried it out to find the answer. So we found out what
Use
would
a
happen.
litter.
Yeah. And then we had more questions. So we could do more experiments to try to find the answers to those questions, because that's what scientists do. They ask questions and then they try experiments to try to find the answers. So we were scientists today. Thanks for helping me with that experiment. I think now I want to tell you what we're doing next time. The book we're reading next time is called Zoo in the Sky. Any guesses what that might be about? Zoo in the Sky?
I have Zoo in the Sky.
You do? Oh, that's
Wow, Campbell.
I have Zoo in the Sky.
Oh, cool.
So it's a book about, it's okay if you can't get it, Theresa.
It's about constellations. I remember it.
Zoo in the Sky is about constellations. So those are pictures that we imagine in the stars, because the stars kind of like connect the dot. We imagine pictures there, and a lot of those are animals. So Zoo in the Sky is a book about the animals we imagine in the stars in the sky. And we're going to be reading that book next time, which will be
Olive oil.
Monday, September 14th. Wait, no, is that, yeah, that's the right time.
Right.
And you can sign up just like before on our website at astrosociety.org/storytime.
Olive oil doesn't work.
Olive oil doesn't work. You tried it?
Okay.
Yeah, but it doesn't work.
It doesn't work. Well, now we know.
Maybe you could, kids, if you take any notes and you want to share them with us about what works and what doesn't, or if you want to show us any pictures, we have that website, right? Storytime@astrosociety.org, which you can send us an email and send us the pictures, just like you guys have done before.